Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy. Thanks for joining us today, March 29th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, to start us off today, we'll recall the words of the Abbot Orsini, who tells us that today they celebrate the apparition of Our Lady to Saint Bernard, the Bishop of Clermont in Auvergne, whom she ordered to say Mass one night when he had remained in the church to pray. The saint leaning against a pillar as if to hide himself, the stone became soft and made place for him, where it is seen today. So you can see his image in the pillar, right? But the Blessed Virgin Mary, having obliged him to officiate, she left him when Mass was over the chasuble which had been brought him by angels to celebrate in. The heavenly present is still to be seen in Clermont, where it is preserved with great care. Okay, so the Marian apparition to Saint Bernard, who celebrated Mass with an angelic chasuble. Then we head down to Rome, where they celebrate Madonna della Speranza, Giulianova di Roma in Rome. And the story goes that on March 29th, so today in 1755, there was an image that was facing the street that opened into that town, right? So Our Lady miraculously manifested herself to a pious woman, Maria de Ercole. And Our Lady said to her, "Go to the pastor and tell him that I want to be visited." So Maria de Ercole went and told the pastor, and he didn't believe. So the following day, which that year happened to be Easter Sunday, the image repeated the same words to Maria de Ercole, and she also added, "Tell Pier Antonio Bonelli to remember the promise he made to me." So you said, well, who is Pier Antonio Bonelli? Well, that man had been miraculously freed from the hands of an enemy who was assaulting him and prepared to take his life. So they went and asked Pier Antonio Bonelli about the story. He said, yes, that's absolutely true. I did make a promise. And so from that point on, the pastor and the people gave the beginnings to a new beautiful sanctuary in honor of Our Lady. Likewise, in Rome, they also celebrate Santa Maria in Araceli, right? So this is the church of Santa Maria in Araceli, the altar of heaven. That's what Araceli means, right? It sits on one of Rome's 7 hills, the Capitoline or Campidoglio, where the temple of Juno Moneta, the goddess of finance, once stood. So there is a story told that once Sybil, one of those like little prophetesses, told Caesar Augustus, "Ec est ara filii Dei." Like, this here is the altar of God's Son, right? Prophesying the birth of Christ and the coming of Christianity. By the 500s, Greek monks had already built a church there. In the 1200s, Franciscan friars built the present church to honor the belief that Saint Mary, that's, Mary, Mother of God, holding the divine child, appeared to Augustus there. On the high altar, there's an icon said to be by St. Luke, and to have come from Jerusalem, by way of Constantinople, to Rome in the 400s, right? We're told that the present image there is a copy dated to the late thousands, right? During the plague of 1348, this image was processed through the streets of Rome. The plague ended swiftly, and the great staircase leading to the church was dedicated that same year in Thanksgiving. On March 29th, 1636, the Madonna d'Araceli was solemnly crowned. French troops stole the crown in 1797, but it was replaced in 1938. On May 30th, 1948, the Roman people, the people of Rome, were consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary before that icon. Likewise, we also celebrate Notre Dame de Chambron in Chambron-Casteux, Huenat, Wallonia, in Belgium. That beautiful abbey, dedicated to Our Lady, was saved from pillage in 1571. And we also celebrate Virgen del Pilar in Calanda, Teruel, Aragon, Spain. Back on this day in 1640, there is a report of a miraculous healing that took place thanks to Our Lady's intercession. And so that is what we are celebrating today, March 29th, in the Marian world. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue with Meditation 51, entitled The Home of Nazareth. Today, we'll consider the third point, the qualities of this obedience. what kind of obedience was there? Exteriorly prompt and interiorly joyful. It does not suffice to do externally the things that we are ordered. It is indispensable to have that spirit of internal submission, which surrenders our judgment and subjects our will. Moreover, they obeyed in everything, whether pleasant or displeasing, great or small, in the minutest detail. In matters of obedience, everything is important. Just one detail can spoil it. Moreover, we must obey wholeheartedly, totally, without adding one iota of our own will. How often do you obey in your own way, just as you like, just when it pleases you, just when you think it is convenient? Yes, you want to obey, but at the same time you want to do your own will and pleasure. You are, no doubt, ready to do God's will, but without completely shedding your own. It is most pitiful. A very poor show of obedience indeed. Look to Jesus and to Mary, and learn how to obey. Lastly, obedience must be supernatural, out of a spirit of faith. Look to God and not to the person who commands. In your superior, you must see a portrait of Christ. This picture of God that is your superior may not often be a model of beauty and perfection. It doesn't matter. Do not obey out of your likings, out of human affections, out of gratitude, or just in an endeavor not to displease the superior who commands. All that is too human. Obey God and only God, and never men as such, but only insofar as they are representing God. For today's reading from the Admirable Heart of Mary, we will continue with the beginning of Part 7. This is Chapter 1 of Part 7, the testimony of the Fathers and ascetical writers to this devotion to the Admirable Heart of Mary. Yesterday we heard what St. Augustine says in some of his homilies, and today we will hear some more from St. Leo the Great and St. Anselm. St. Leo the Great, who lived in the same century as St. Augustine, also speaks of the Holy Heart of Mary. He preached the glory of Mary's virginal heart in the city of Rome, as is proved from the following words from his sermon on the birth of Christ. A royal virgin, of the race of David, is chosen to be the mother of the infant God, and to conceive him in her heart before bearing him in her womb. St. Anselm, the illustrious Archbishop of Canterbury and worthy son of St. Benedict, clearly reveals his love and devotion to the Mother of God in his writings, especially in a book called The Excellence of the Blessed Virgin Mary. One passage in this work makes a special mention of the loving heart of Mary. After the saintly Archbishop has pronounced a beautiful eulogy on the glorious Assumption of Our Lady, he speaks thus: "What praise and thanksgiving do men and all other creatures owe the Blessed Virgin Mary! The most pure holiness and most holy purity of her pious heart, which surpasses incomparably the holiness and purity of all other creatures, merited that God chose her to be the restorer of the world which was lost." St. Anselm is right in attributing the resurrection and restoration of man and of all things to the most pure and holy heart of the Mother of the Sovereign Restorer. It was by her purity and holiness of Mary's heart that she drew God the Son into her holy womb, so that we might have a Redeemer.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.